Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a moment of silence for two outstanding Abington citizens. Rosie Walls. Rosie was a president and member of the Friends of the Abington Library for many years. She was a member of the Tricentennial Subcommittee, co-chaired the commemorative book committee that produced Celebrating 300 Years, A Shared History, Abington, Rockland, Whitman, 1712-2012. Rosie was a valued member of our community and will be missed by all. And also, this one's a tough one. Moment of silence for Tom Graham. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Graham family at this time of sorrow. Coach Thomas J. Graham was a beloved Abington teacher and coach for Abington's high school and baseball programs who led the Greenway baseball team to over 300 wins in his tenure as head varsity baseball coach. Abington's varsity baseball diamond was named in his honor in 2006, and Coach Graham was inducted into the Massachusetts High School Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2001 and Stonehill College's Hall of Fame in 2009. Rest in peace, Coach Graham. Thank you. Before we reorganize, I'd just like to announcements. Tom, you have an announcement?
Yes, I do. A plant and bake sale, rain or shine, will be held at the Butterfly Garden, Central Street, Abington, on Saturday, May 19, 2018, from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. There will be many annual and perennial plants to add to your garden. Also, home-baked items will be sold.
Bob?
A couple, please, thank you. This weekend, this Saturday, vaccination for cats and dogs will take place up here at the town hall. It's from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Again, it's for cats and dogs. Unfortunately, no licensing this year, just going to be vaccinations. So the vaccinations is from 10 to 12 on Saturday up here at the town hall. Also remind everybody that Mother's Day is coming up this weekend. Don't forget your mothers, please. We're doing yard waste pickup this week. Every day this week, if you're trash pickup, we're doing bag yard waste pickup this week.
So your regular day is put your long leaf bags out.
Put your long leaf bags out with your regular trash and we'll pick them up. And just remember that on Saturday now, the Grove Street landfill is open for drop-offs. If you want to go up there on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
It's open a lot more than it has been in the past. It's open pretty much every
been up,
weekend.
it's open up, I think we have it every weekend through November, so.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to touch upon this next, but I just want to remind everyone that Monday, May 28th is the Memorial Day, and is the norm. We will have a lot of observances, starting at 7:30 at Laidler Field, and then moving on to the Richard Fitz Memorial, and the ceremony at West Abington Cemetery, 8:45 ceremony on Island Grove Bridge, 10 a.m. Memorial Day Parade, followed by ceremony inside Mount Vernon. This is a perfect segue. Well, actually, we can't segue because we have to reorganize the board. So hopefully people can make it out to for Memorial Day. Hopefully the weather will be good. Reorganization of board. I'm going to turn the gavel over to our town manager.
Well, I have a long speech ready for this, but I'll put that on file with the town clerk though, so anybody wants to read it. Reorganization of board. We'll start with the position of chairman as always. Are there any nominations for chair?
I'll nominate Ken Coyle.
Ken Coyle. Motion to nominate Ken Coyle by Mr. Conley. Are there any other nominations for chairman? Mr. Coyle.
Can I nominate Mr. Manning?
Mr. Manning. Coyle nominates Mr. Manning. Is there a second? I'm sorry, I should have called for a second to Mr.
Second
Thank
for
you.
the first one.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. As you can tell, I'm not very good at
Tell
this.
nobody wants it, but.
And is there a second to Mr. Coyle's nomination of Mr. Manning?
I'll second.
Mr. Second.
Someone phoned one in.
I'm sorry, I can't phone it a second. Second by Tom Conley.
Jim.
Thank you. Are there any other
And it
motions for
begins.
chair?
I'll
Hearing
nominate-
none. I'm sorry.
I'll nominate Tom Conley.
Motion by Mr. Chapin. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Mann.
I love this new board, it's already divided.
Yeah, are there, well,
Could I
those
ju-
are, go,
I
are
just-
there, well, are there any other motions for chair before I? Thank you, okay.
I just want to speak on behalf of my motion, if I could.
Well, hearing no other motions, then we shall go to the first one. The first motion, we should take these in order, Mr.
Oh, yes,
Mr.
absolutely.
Current
All right.
Chairman. The first motion is for Mr. Coyle, so acting on that motion. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Acting on the second motion by Mr. Coyle, you now may speak on that, Mr. Coyle.
Thank you.
I'm getting good at this, huh?
Yeah, you're,
So,
yeah, you're
a little
actually,
slow, but I'm
take
getting
over
good
if
at
you
it.
want. I've been chairman for quite a while now, a couple terms, so I like to, and Bob's been a great vice chair, so I'd like to hand it over to Bob. I know it's his last year before he either has to make a decision whether he wants to run again, so I think it's a good opportunity for Bob to do it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Acting on the second.
This is the only time we use Mr., you know, usually it's.
Okay, well then I'll follow your lead, acting on the motion for Mr. Manning. All those in favor of Mr. Manning, say aye.
Aye.
The tie, Robert.
Hearing none, oh, very good. Then on the third motion, I'm sorry, there wasn't a second on that, so we actually, that's rather interesting. So we don't have, so that kind of leaves us in no man's land at this point.
There was this,
There wasn't a second on Mr.
on my nomination, there wasn't a
There
second?
wasn't a
I don't, I
second.
nominated.
I'm sorry.
I second
I'm sorry.
that. Tim nominated my
I
second.
apologize that there was a second then. I guess I'm not getting very good at this after all, so, okay. Acting on the third motion by Mr. Chapin and seconded by Bob Manning. As all in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, can I hear that again, please? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
There's a two. There's only two in favor of that, so we currently have,
Good luck with these minutes.
okay,
Did you not vote for yourself?
all right.
Nope,
Interesting,
because I put it Kenneth,
okay.
Huh?
because I put Kenneth.
Well, we simply, at the moment, we do not have a majority for the position of chair. Would anybody like to revisit one of the prior motions at this time? Perhaps we'll start at the top and go through this again on the acting on the first motion for Mr. Coyle. There was a first motion by Mr. Conley, seconded, let me put my glasses on here. Seconded by Mr. Manning for Mr. Coyle. We did not get a majority vote for that either. Would somebody, if I would call for a vote on that again, would there, I guess I will call for a vote on that again. Acting on that first motion, I will call for a vote on that. All those in favor of Mr. Coyle, please say aye.
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 Okay, ayes don't have it. Rather than, I guess perhaps rather than going through all this, is there anybody willing to change their initial vote? Just out of
But
curiosity.
so who's voting for who, basically?
So, nobody seems to be willing to vote for themselves at this point. So,
That's what I
or,
was-
Well, that's what I was at, but I
willing to be
voted, I
accepting of.
nominated Ken, so.
Yeah, so, so that seems to be where we have it.
Go a year without a board.
So as it stands, nobody has a majority. Mr. Coyle is currently the chairman, so the chairmanship of the board doesn't change. So unless anybody would ask for this vote for reorganization to come up again, it would seem that Mr. Coyle remains chair. Does anybody object to that at the moment?
Nope.
I don't know how else to proceed.
No.
Here. Then the vote to reorganize fails, and I would suggest that unless someone on the board asks for this to come up on a future agenda, then status quo. So, would you like to proceed over the vote for vice chairman, or shall I continue?
Sure, continue. Hope you'll
Because
better watch than the first one.
I'm so good at this. Okay, there are nominations for the position of vice chairman.
We're all afraid now.
I will give the board credit, they obviously, we have not discussed this amongst ourselves. as
Clearly.
Previous boards have in the past, so.
Clearly,
we gotta
there is no
Which
illegal
is a good
meetings
thing.
going on.
There are no. That's a good
I'll
thing.
nominate Bob Manning to be the,
Martin, thank you. Nomination by Mr. Conley for Bob Manning for vice chair. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
aye.
That is unanimous vote.
Well, I'm gonna abstain, just to,
Thank you.
all right.
Meeting is yours, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you for your full support on that. All right. 7 o'clock, Ken Coburn, request permission for extension of premises for 1 day to sell beer and wine on Saturday, June 9, 2018, behind the Legion Building, and the announcement of the Memorial Day events, which we just did, but you can expand on that if you want. So we have a request to come on up, Ken. Maybe you can tell us a little bit. It looks to me like that's the night of the Abington fireworks.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Ken Coburn, 29 Colonel Hunt Drive, currently the commander of the Abington American Legion Post 112 here in town. First off, thank you for initially noting what's going on Memorial Day. I want to extend the invitation not just to the town leadership, but to the people of Abington. We're noticing that this parade has been diminishing over the years, and think that some folks may have lost the focus of what Memorial Day is about. So if you are able to partake in the events, not just one, but all, I think it's posted on the town's website. An email has gone out to the town. Did you guys get flyers
Yep,
for the
they're
press
in our
release?
packet.
Okay. And we'll make sure that we disseminate it on social media the best that we can, but we'd like to see everybody out there. In addition, one of the events that we have is the ceremony at Island Grove at the Soldiers and Sailors Civil War Memorial. And we would like a guest speaker, preferably from the Board of Selectmen or Town Manager's Office, or any town official that may be interested in speaking 5 minutes, reflecting on Memorial Day, what it means to you.
That was the whole reason I didn't want to change it. I didn't want to speak, so.
might
So we
not-
have,
might-
I know, we have a veteran on our board now, so.
Yeah. So I'll let you guys think about that. We're gonna go print, final print with the program probably in about 2 weeks, so
Okay.
if you can get back to me on that, I don't wanna put you on the spot for that one. And that's at 8:45 on the 28th at Island Grove. The second issue that we're looking for is similar to what we did on Oktoberfest in town. We're trying to, combination between the American Legion and the United Church of Christ in Abington, where my wife's currently the pastor. We're gonna be selling hamburgers and hot dogs out there. What the Legion was requesting is similar to what we did during Oktoberfest, is we'll have a cordoned off area in the back of the post. We'd like to do a beer and wine garden back there, or an area that's secured. Tip certified bartenders, all our bartenders are tip certified. It will be closed in. Drinks will not be allowed outside that caged in area. And we'll also have additional Legion members making sure that things don't slip out and slip through. So we'll have pretty tight security there. It's worked well in the past. Oktoberfest was a great success. People were very respectful of it, and we will make sure that people, don't get overserved. So what we're doing is basically requesting that we get to extend the license outside for that one evening, and we can set the hours determined by the board.
Any questions from the board? I know that the festivities are planning on starting at 5 o'clock, and the fireworks are supposed to go up at 9:30 or thereabouts, so do you have certain hours you'd like to request?
Well, obviously,
5
to, well, maybe half hour before fireworks go off, so
Oh, your
people can get back.
your bar normal closing is
At
11 anyway.
11 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So, we'd want to secure the outside area
Right.
well in advance of the fireworks going off.
Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
That outside area, is that gonna be open to the public or just Legion members?
No, it will be open to the public.
Okay.
It will be open to the public. And the
If
Legion
they
will
want-
also be open to the public. If people do want to go inside and
Right.
have a beverage of, a mixed drink, they can do it in the building, but we're not allowing it to be taken outside, and we're not allowing any mixed drinks outside. It's just beer and wine.
Okay.
the Abington Celebrates Group is trying to arrange it so that the food vendors, they have a monopoly. So in other words, they're gonna be the only ones selling hot dogs and hamburgers that evening. So if anybody wants to get a hot dog or hamburger, but there'll be other, there'll be other food vendors there, but,
Yeah.
so people can go up there to get.
And to keep it clear that the church is not associated with the selling of the beer, the church is associated with,
If you say so.
the beer and wine, yeah.
Burgers and dogs.
Any other questions? I will entertain a motion for 5 to 9:30, say?
Motion to allow a license, a one-day license, beer and wine license from 5 to 9:30 on
June 9th.
June 9th.
I'll second that.
We have a motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you for your time.
We'll be in contact about more warrant.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Abington Depot, request for extension of hours on Mother's Day, which we were reminded is this weekend, Sunday. Welcome, Kathy. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good. Can you just tell everybody in TV land your name?
Kathleen O'Donovan, 3 John Cayley Circle,
Thank you. What time do you open now on Sundays?
12 o'clock,
12 o'clock. You just want to make it, what was it, 10:30?
10:30.
Excellent. Does that require anything special from, other than this, just a vote from the
No,
board?
it's not a public hearing. There's
Okay.
no need for anything beyond the vote from the board.
All right. I have a very important question for us fellow foodies. Is this an all-you-can-eat brunch?
It is not.
Oh, good.
No, there is a specific menu. You can see the menu on the website, though.
Oh, all right, perfect, thank you. Any questions from the board?
No.
Any motion from the board?
Motion to allow the one-day start time to be changed to 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, May 13th, 2018, for Mother's Day brunch at Abington Depot Restaurant.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion is a second. Mimosas and Bloody Marys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, good. That is all the discussion I have. Any other
It's
questions?
supposed to be before that.
Prioritize.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Why don't we, if it's agreeable to the board,
Oh, my goodness.
I will actually, I was supposed to ask this question, but the public comment, does anybody have any public comment about agenda items besides Sue, who's gonna come up in a second? I'm just supposed to ask that now. Okay, good enough. I'm gonna move to action discussion item number 1, please, and Sue wants to come up. This is for approval of a dog park fundraiser, Fun Day in Woodsdale School, June 3rd, 2018. Now, Susan, introduce yourself, Sue.
I'm Sue McHugh. I live at 30 Elm Street, and I'm part of the Abington Dog Park Committee.
She's gonna talk very enthusiastically about Baka-Palooza. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So as you guys know, we have been working for the past couple of years, we'll give these you a pass out, to try to build a dog park in town. The Board of Selectmen agreed to give us a piece of land on Summer Street that's unused, next to the senior center. And we have won a grant from the Stanton Foundation, which funds dog parks and canine units across Massachusetts. They'll pay 90% of it, as long as we fundraise 10%. We've already gotten the first disbursement of funds, and now we are working to get all the preliminary designs prepared so the job can go out to bid to a contractor. So we're moving forward. Our 10% is estimated to be about $17,000, and we've raised about $12,000. So this big event coming up is similar to Oktoberfest in some ways, except that most of the entertainment is dog-centered. It doesn't mean we only want dog owners or dog lovers. It's going to be a very family-friendly event too. We've got an agility trainer coming in to do a demonstration, and then after they do their show, they'll let any average old dog run through it if they want to give it a try. The Plymouth County Sheriff's Department is coming down to do a canine unit demonstration, which is always really amazing to see, and especially given recent events happening with the canine unit and the officer down on the Cape. I think it's just really important to remind the community of what they do. We're doing another doggy costume contest with a 4th of July theme. That was a big hit, Oktoberfest. And then we have a guy coming in, he's the Flying High Frisbee Dogs. You may have seen them on TV, or maybe not him, but people like him, where he's got these amazing border collies that can catch the Frisbee anywhere. They jump off of him, they jump in the air. They're pretty fantastic. And he gave us quite a discount for the day. In addition to that, we're going to have bouncy houses that were donated by Pick a Party Place in town. Joe's Crazy Critters is coming in. So, we've got kid stuff as well as, dog lover stuff. The Lions Club truck is coming down to provide some lunch. We may have a bake sale to go with it. We may have an ice cream truck. We're still working that out. So it will go behind Woodsdale School on June 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we hope it will be a really nice fundraiser. In addition to raising funds, we kind of thought about making this a thank you to all the people who have so far helped us raise $12,000. I know there are a lot of things demanding your money, whether it's bills or other charities, and the fact that we've raised this much from Abington and surrounding communities is pretty impressive, I think. And so this is kind of a thank you party as well as let's keep raising money and meet our goal.
Excellent. And you're all set, you already secured the school?
Yes, the school department has approved it. We checked in with the fire department, they're okay. We got some information from the Board of Health, and I think we're in good shape with them, and just have to contact the police. We talked to them preliminarily about it. Initially, we had thought about doing like a walk through the neighborhood, kind of similar to the Christie Combs route. In talking to the police, we decided that may be too unwieldy at this point. Maybe someday in the future in another location.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Are you asking for a police detail from the police, or just?
I don't think we need a police detail. I mean, obviously, it will depend on what they say. Because this is our first event, it's hard to estimate what the crowd will be.
So if they recommended one, then you would get one?
I guess we would have to.
Any other questions from the board? I don't even know, do they really need a permit from the town?
Well, permission.
Permission,
Yeah.
I mean, if all goes well, we hope to have 100 people there throughout the day, so I guess it probably would be good to make sure you guys know what's happening.
And if you do have other food vendors besides the Lions Club, they already have a permit, but you might need to check with the Board of Health.
Yes,
Some
yes.
outside vendors.
Right, they gave me a whole list of requirements, so it may be that the Lions Club has the monopoly.
Yeah.
Besides our
We're just
home
doing hot
bakers.
dogs too, so by the way, so, and drinks. All right.
Hot dogs.
Okay, no other questions? We'll entertain a motion to approve this or recommend it or whatever you want to call it.
Motion to approve the allocation of Bacapalooza to have a one-day fundraiser at the Woodsdale School on June 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to support the Abington Dog Park, which they're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Do you want to contingent upon police, meeting with the police? Just
Contingent on,
just-
a sub to that, a contingent on the meeting of the police if there's any need for a detail.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Good luck with Bacapalooza.
Thank you. Good luck, thank you.
All right, we have 7:15, request for appointment to Cable Advisory Committee. This is different than, if you've watched any of the meetings lately, or you've been part of it, is Abington CAM, which is, what's that stand for?
Abington Cable Access.
In media.
This is actually a town committee that is appointed. I think this committee is more involved in working out contracts with Verizon and Comcast when they're due.
That's their ultimate.
And I think that one of them is coming up at the end of next year.
Verizon.
Oh, Verizon's coming up. So, do we have other openings besides, our openings?
Yes, we'd have to count them, but I believe the committee right now is essentially defunct,
Yeah.
which tends to happen between.
Because the
10-year
contracts go,
contracts.
yeah, 10-year contract, okay. So, we have this, I would encourage anyone watching on TV, if they're interested at all in the workings of cable TV, and if they know anything about it, if they want to sign up to be on the Cable Advisory Committee, there are. There's 3 members, and I think so there'll be 2 more openings, I believe. So, we encourage you to go on the town website and put your name in. Right now, we have 1 application, because it has been on the cable. It's been advertised for a while, but now that it's coming to the point where we need to get this committee back together. So I will entertain a motion, or is there any discussion on Lisa Bezanson? She has shown an interest in the cable workings of the town.
motion to appoint Lisa Bezanson to the Cable Advisory Board. Is she our representative? Or
No,
just as a,
it's 3 committee members.
okay, so as a committee member.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Opposed? Unanimous vote. Okay. We have approval of Abington Celebrates Committee Founder's Day 5K run on June 9th, 2018. Is there any paperwork on
No,
this?
there isn't, I think you,
Oh, am I supposed to
the
speak?
chairman, I believe, asked for this specifically.
Did I? I probably should have provided some
Didn't
backup. on
submit
this.
any information
Oh,
against the rules of the current chairman.
really? All right, good enough. Last year,
Vice Chairman do it?
oh, yeah, you go to the meetings, go ahead. Actually, most of us, most of the selectmen are involved in the Abington Celebrates Committee in one way or another. We haven't roped Tim in yet, but don't worry.
We'll get Jim and Tim.
Mr. Elwick has been sending me the
Okay,
emails.
perfect, so,
Yeah, you can waste any time.
As part of the Abington Founder's Day, we initiated a road run last year, and Andy was eager to join and set up the organization to make that first run happening. And so we had a wonderful event last year, and so to continue on with our effort to maintain an interesting Founder's Day, on Saturday morning, on June 9th, we're gonna have a second Abington Celebrates Community Fun Founder's Day 5K run. And I believe it kicks off at
9:30,
9:30?
something like that?
8:30 and 9:30? 8:30 registration, 9 o'clock kickoff, I believe, that's what it
That
is.
sounds right, yeah.
We're highly eager to have everyone come on board and come for the run. There is a registration fee, and you can go online to
RaceWire, I think.
RaceWire, and RaceWire will allow you to register. I think it's a $25 fee to run the race. And all had a great time last year. The weather was absolutely gorgeous last year. And I can say that because right after that event, Bob Manning's fishing derby took place. So that's it was a wonderful day all around. So I think this is a great opportunity for Founder's Day to get the people of Abington out running on a good crystal day and enjoy themselves.
This is, last year it was a fun run. This year it's actually gonna be a 5K run. It's with timing by the Colonial Road Runners. That's why there's a fee for the timing. So it's be more professionally done, but there's also a fun run for kids that goes along with it. And it does run through Island Grove, so it's very scenic, and the Boy Scouts are at Island Grove for, they're camping over that weekend, so they'll be doing a water stop.
And there could be some Civil War people set up there too.
That's where they're actually working. So the great thing about this is, after everybody's done running, if they're not local, they go, wow, that was a great run, because, you go through the shade of Island Grove, and go down the bridge, so it's really a cool thing. So we expect a lot of runners, so, and it goes through the cemetery, then through Island Grove and Park Avenue, and that sort of stuff. So, we will work with the police, before they blocked off certain roads for us. And I know the deputy police chief actually was the winner last year.
That's correct.
But, so I guess we're looking for approval to do that.
I'll make a motion to approval of the Abington Celebrates Committee Founder's Day 5K run on June 9th.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We are flying through the agenda tonight.
Look at score the Celtics game.
Not good enough.
All right, so I had asked for this to be on the agenda, and as you can tell by the lack of parking spots outside, a lot of people are here for the planning board meeting. They took the big room, that's why we're taped. There are a lot of questions on planning board articles. There are numerous, what is it? More than 10, isn't there?
Yes.
Like 13.
There's some zoning articles, there's the pot shop articles, that sort of stuff. We actually, I think we have to wait for the meeting to get through, and then Wednesday they're gonna meet with the finance committee to see if there's any financial ramifications on that. So, I'd like to meet next Monday night, so we will know exactly what the articles are, because they haven't voted on them yet, and they could change some of them, by, the audience participation segment of that. So, but if we want to review the articles now, I had a discussion with the town manager today, and it's our choice if we want to vote on articles, meaning if we want to recommend approval of articles. It's all, boards in the past have voted on all of them, most of them, none of them. It's our choice if we want to vote on controversial ones or avoid controversial ones. Basically, by the town manager, our board itself has voted to put them on on the warrant. So that's not necessarily, most of the times, when you put them on the warrant, you are in favor of them, but there are some articles that were petition articles, which meant we had no say in the matter. They have enough votes, they automatically get put on the warrant. Those are some at the end. And there's some articles that got put on the agenda and have changed. There's actually one that Bob and I are on a subcommittee that it's meeting tomorrow night for surplus land. And it's a generic article right now, but we hope to have the names of the
Specific addresses.
Yeah, that we put on there. So we can go through the special town meeting, and this is a good, for the new members, just to get an idea of what we're talking about. And if there are any questions, maybe the funding source may become apparent tonight with the town manager, but if we can, this will just be a group effort. So Article 1, to see if the town, this is for the special town meeting. See if the town will vote to transfer of available funds, a sum of money to pay unpaid bills for prior years, or take any other action relative thereto. This is an article that happens every year because you can't pay that. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, this is, yes, an unpaid bill that basically came in after the end of last fiscal year, so pursuant to Mass General laws, unpaid bills have to be approved by the legislative body. This will come from this year's line item, the existing year's line item, but it must be approved by the legislative body because it's from a prior fiscal year.
So when you say transfer from available funds, it's actually going to come from
Unemployment
FY?
line.
It would actually be paid from the existing year's line item.
Should be, be transferred from, okay.
Yeah, so the motion
Yeah.
that will be, that we will suggest to the finance committee would be to be paid from the current year's line item.
Okay. And now the board has a choice if we want to make a recommendation on these articles. I really don't. Articles like these, this has to be done anyways. It's not paid bills, so I don't really see what good us recommending on it is. And we do not have the finance committee's recommendation on these articles yet, but that'll happen Wednesday, I'm sure.
Correct. They'll be voting on their recommendations Wednesday
I
night.
don't see too many concerns on most of these articles, but I would hate for us to recommend an article and then Wednesday night they'll have them vote not to recommend one, then we'll have to, duke it out with them.
Right. And 2 and 3, for instance, go together because 2 and 3 are actually related to the memorandum of agreement that the board has agreed to with the police union. 2 is one of the provisions that would create the revolving account pursuant to the law that would help pay the detail officers more quickly. 3 is the actual funding of the agreements with the police union.
This is, anybody that's been following the police union contract knows that one of their major concerns is that it takes a while when they do a detail to get paid, and this would, we work with them on the collective bargaining agreement to put this on there, so this will mean that they're paid basically right away, or a lot quicker.
Yes.
So that's Article 2 and 3.
Essentially before, currently as it stands, when an officer works a detail, the officer doesn't get paid until the vendor pays the town, which sometimes can take quite a while. In this way, this funds a revolving account, so the officer gets paid right away, and the money from the vendor comes in to replenish that revolving fund. So many towns do it this way.
So what I'd like to do is go article to article, and if somebody would like to say, I'd like the Board of Selectmen to make a recommendation on this article, then just stop me and we'll make that motion if that's okay. So that's Articles 2 and 3. Article 4.
Article 4 is simply to pay the snow and ice deficit. The snow and ice deficit's actually about $450,000, but the recommendation is to pay the rest on the recap sheet, simply because that's the way it works better in terms of the accounting mechanism. And instead of using the rest of the free cash is being used to fund the capital items in Article 3 on the annual town meeting warrant. So it's the same bottom line. It's just a matter of what's easier in terms of the journal entries necessary from an accounting standpoint. So
Article 5.
Article 5 is, after, in conversation with the Finance Committee, the Fire Chief probably going to be recommended to be passed over. At the time the warrant, this had to be put together, Fire Chief was a little bit concerned about, end-of-year fiscal requirements So this, at the time, $4,500 at the end of a fiscal year you didn't plan for. This, fire chief doesn't really think it's gonna be necessary, that he'll probably have funding available in his budget. And the finance committee has informed me that certainly, and the fire chief is happy to hear that, obviously, if there's a need for end-of-year transfer, they'll be more than happy to participate in light of the fact that the Abington Celebrates Committee certainly didn't even know until about a week and a half ago that they were actually gonna have the fundraising was gonna come through for them to have a fireworks display this year. So probably gonna be recommended to pass over this article at town meeting anyway. So-
Rick, you can't take the article off, I mean,
No, because this is already posted. This
oh, that
warrant's
one's already, that's already
It's
posted,
actually-
right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's actually good news, because
Yeah.
even though this article is by the Abington Celebrates Committee, I am not in favor of using taxpayer money to spend, to pay for fireworks or any cost associated with, so.
Yeah.
And I've actually gotten up on the floor before to
Yeah.
talk about that, so I'm glad this is going.
That was
Hopefully.
part of the conversation at the finance committee meeting too.
Good.
It's a little bit of a conundrum,
Yeah,
there,
it
so,
is.
but in fairness though, you can appreciate the fire chief's concern at this time of the year. And although he didn't make the request, I know when the Abington Celebrates Committee, we were in conversation with him about the logistics. He obviously raised the concern to them about, this late in a fiscal year, an expenditure he couldn't possibly have planned for, so.
Right.
So it looks like it's gonna be a moot point.
Excellent.
Articles 6 and 7, which are intended to be able to put free cash away both into stabilization and OPEB trust fund, would seem to be not available in this given year, if indeed the town supports utilizing free cash to fund seed money, to seed the kindergarten, full-day kindergarten program this year, which again remains to be seen, but would seem to be getting support from parties this year in
Well,
terms
that
of,
might be an article we wanted to vote on, but.
well, it's not, yeah, that
Well,
would
it's
be
part of the
part of the budget. Yeah.
Articles 6 and 7, just for the new members, and Rick can speak to this better than I can, but when you get the stabilization fund at the end of the year, and when you get the free cash, I should say, our board has had a policy for many years now that a certain percentage of that would go to the stabilization fund, which is the rainy day fund, and which is now very healthy, and the OPEB, which is something that the state wants us to start adding to, I believe, if I'm correct. And OPEB is other post-employment benefits, which is costing the town and the state a lot of money, and that's basically people that are no longer working for the town.
Yeah, health insurance and other benefits of people who are retirees. Yes.
And what was the policy before that we had? Do you remember?
It was 60% for stabilization, 40% for OPEB, and I'm sorry,
No.
it was 60% capital, 40% for stabilization, and of that 40%, 10% for OPEB.
Okay.
So that was essentially, and as you can see, we are very healthily spending towards the capital piece in our capital plan. But the ability to forego a piece as a savings versus investing in the seed money for for the full-day kindergarten, that was the dilemma. And the question mark during the budget process was whether or not we were convinced that the Chapter 70 formula would recognize this and the additional student body going forward, so that the seed money from a one-time spending source would be recognized in the Chapter 70 reimbursement and FY20 forwards, so that we'd have a recurring revenue source from the seed money, because you obviously don't want to use non-recurring revenue for recurring expenses. And so being convinced of that is what gives us a level of comfort, although there's always some consternation that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is going to keep up its commitments. That's what keeps us up at night. But that, being convinced of that is what has led people, is what is leading people to believe that it's maybe the right time to take the plunge, so.
So this is a one-time, basically after this, we'll get paid back by the state. So this amount of money is just one time, and then after
Yeah.
that, it's a nice cycle where we'll get reimbursed.
Right. But again, as we know, it's,
Not always guaranteed.
I mean, whether or not, you go, to the extent that the state is susceptible to a significant economic downturn and Chapter 70 and local aid is cut, but that could happen, that happens with, regardless of whether or not a kindergarten program is funded, so. But that's where we stand with regard to free cash.
If for some reason it was voted down and free cash was still there, would we have to come back and make a decision to put it in capital and stabilization fund later on? If we didn't spend the money on...
No, it would just remain in free cash.
That's it, we wouldn't have to...
It would just remain as free cash.
You can't go
Available.
back and do these articles because that
No,
closed,
but at a future town meeting, it just remains as free cash. The town could, it's as good as being in savings because it's in free cash. So at a future town meeting, the town could put it back in stabilization or OPEB or use it for further capital or anything else the town chose to do with it.
Thank you.
Okay, so that ends our special town meeting warrant. We go on to the annual town meeting warrant. Article 1 is basically the budget. So, which is at the end.
You generally take it by page.
The town meeting usually does both page by page.
And again, the finance committee will be acting on this on Wednesday night, and I've been meeting I've been to all their meetings, so we have a very good understanding and camaraderie, I guess you'd say. I was unable to make one meeting, town accountant did attend, and again, assistant town manager, town accountants, school administration, we've attended all their meetings. Again, one of us, I've been at all their meetings, and so questions have been asked and answered and amendments made along the way, so it's been a very interactive process. So to a great extent, you might even call this somewhat of a consensus, not a heavy-handed take it or leave it town manager recommendation, so to speak. So department heads are all well aware of what's being recommended. So there's no surprises here at this stage of the process.
I guess the cover sheet is basically a 3.47% increase in
And again, the other piece, as we are still being cognizant of the fact that we try to be conservative with our revenue estimates. As you can see, our new growth estimates are still well below last year's actuals. Our estimated receipts are still reasonably conservative. We're still utilizing the local aid proposal from the governor's package. As some of you know, the state budget process doesn't conclude till well after our local budget process is done. So, you want to be cautious not to count on too heavily on anything but the governor's budget proposal. Should the town become, get more through the state budget process, that's wonderful, that we can use that. That can accrue towards the town's savings account at a later time, which is healthy. As we've discussed in the finance committee meetings, to the extent that we stay conservative in our revenue estimates now, can be helpful in FY20 and beyond, if indeed the Commonwealth of Massachusetts isn't as forthcoming as we're projecting, and what the Chapter 70 formula, for instance, is, projects forward, as we may look forward to with our kindergarten program, for instance. So those are the things that you know, cause me concern, for instance. If we know that we're being conservative with our revenue estimates now, you know, if, again, despite the fact that, you know, a third-party analysis of our the Chapter 70 formula, as well as what the Department of Education is you know, informing our school administration based upon the enrollment, what the kindergarten program's gonna do to their enrollment. Despite that, if it doesn't add up the way everybody's informing us at the moment, we know we have some buffer with regard to our revenue. We know that's helpful going into future fiscal years, so that's, that gives us a little bit of comfort, so. And the other piece too is, in general, even though we're not putting money away this year, one of the things that was noted with our fairly recently updated bond rating was our conservative budgeting practices, and that has come back to us in good ways, and I think we need to continue to do that.
You're doing it by 5%, pretty
You know.
much, you know, as far as
Well, again,
local fees and taxes.
Yeah, so we're
-5.
And the fact that we're all, you know, everybody's on board with that, even our school administration, you know, yes, we have staffing desires and needs, but we're doing okay. There's always gonna be needs. You fund everything everybody wants, and there's still gonna be needs. That's the way it works.
Right, so going through the budget, do you want to just maybe touch upon quickly some of the, I know we've talked about it, but
Sure.
I just want you guys, if you get questioned, maybe some of the highlights of the budget, maybe some of the things we've added.
Yeah, the highlights are, obviously, in this budget is adoption of the pre-K, keep calling it pre-K, I'm sorry. My mind is on the school building, adoption of the full-day kindergarten, that's built into this. In addition, there is the absorption of 2 full-time police officer positions that were previously grant funded. So that's a level service piece of the police budget.
So now we're taking over the cost.
Yes. Now, in addition to that, there's sufficient funding to add 2 additional police positions for the second half of next fiscal year. That is intended to bring back the detective division that has been defunct for many years. That brings the police budget, the positions, funded positions, back to the maximum that the department has ever had. That was a goal that we had set, I mean collectively, this Board of Selectmen and me, approximately 4 years ago when I was pretty new. That was the primary staffing goal of the Board of Selectmen. So, you know, it's taken a few years, but this is intended to finally get back to that point.
Any new school-
Obviously, I'm sorry.
Any new school positions?
Well, the school, I don't know specifically if there's new positions, but this funds the school at a 3% inflationary increase, which they've obviously have to work to get down to, which they were at about 3.11% increase in the last gasp, so to speak. So this is all predicated on that 3% inflation in the school budget before the kindergarten program is added, okay? It also obviously deals with the increase in the collective bargaining increase for the police budget.
Another.
The rest of it is a level services budget for all other departments in the town.
Are there any
Those are the
concerns about,
highlights, so to speak.
I know when Rockland built their new school, the next year, I think they had to go for an override because the costs for maintaining that new building were a lot more than they had anticipated. Are there any concerns about that, or any?
Well, that is one of the reasons one of the initiatives was the solar.
No,
That's
absolutely.
obviously one issue. A net metering contract we engaged in about a year and a half ago is starting to come to fruition, which is helping our electric costs by approximately 10 to 11%. A good portion of that obviously is accrues to the school's benefit too, because
Yeah.
they're a good piece of our electric costs. So some of that remains to be seen. It's a good point, but some of that remains to be seen. Keep in mind, we've also shuttered 2 school buildings, so some of that does accrue to the operational benefit of the school district in total. So some of that is still remains to be seen, Ken.
Does anybody have any other questions on the budget? Does they wanna
So those are the highlights.
speak to a
Those are the
particular?
highlights. And the rest of it's a,
There's the South Shore Vortec number dropped a lot, so that helps.
yes, that has helped to offset some of the, the operating costs spread throughout the rest of the municipal budget, yes.
Is there any plans, maybe long-range plans for, and maybe, I'm talking out of school here, but I've heard murmurs, I think actually one of the candidates think that the highway department, the DPW is a little understaffed, and I don't know that for a fact, but can you speak to that at all, or
Well, I
are
know
you
that.
aware of that?
Well, the highway DPW director was not looking for additional positions, so it's, I know that seasonally it can be a challenge, I know that.
Yeah.
And so that, I know that has been his biggest challenge, is seasonal help, at the moment at least. And I know there's also been, was a period of time where he was dealing with some injuries, which was a challenge too.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Any other questions on the article, Article 1, the budget article at all? Article 2 is, I think it's put in every year by the town clerk, basically looking to increase the town clerk's salary.
right. As an elected official, that has to be voted in the form of, has to be approved by the legislative body.
And it's basically the only position in town that's like that
Correct.
left, and she is seeking a 2% raise, is that?
That's a 3, that would be.
That's a 3% raise, okay.
Did you get one last year?
Yes,
2%, right?
I believe it was 3%.
3% last year also.
Could we, could we get like maybe a rundown in the last 5 years what she's gotten for percentage increase? Would that be possible for next year when we want to, for next week when we want to vote on that?
Do you want to,
Article 3 is the yearly article for the capital plan, and it's separate from the Community Preservation Act.
Yes.
fund. So, and this includes items that don't come out of our budget, but like enterprise funds for the water department, joint waterworks, and the sewer department.
And these are the ones that ever, some of these, I've been on, obviously, the list for many years. Some of these are opportunities that have come up that are just timely. For instance, the Revolutionary War Monument out here, we do have some money on for that. We have an insurance recovery that seemingly is not sufficient yet. We're still pursuing that. We're also still pursuing recovery costs in court. There is in fact, we had a town official show up last week in court proceeding with a defendant who didn't show up. So we will need more money. We're hoping that we don't have to spend the funds that are on the warrant. If that's the case, these will remain in here and can't be spent for anything else, but we want to get this done this season, obviously. We don't want this building out there. So, and the finance committee has been instructed of this too, but we don't want to, we'd rather have funds on the warrant that we don't need to spend in the hopes that we have an insurance recovery, an additional insurance recovery because of estimates we get, or a court recovery. But our initial insurance recovery was extremely poor, about $18,000, and we believe that it's going to cost close to twice as much to replace it. As an example, not something that has come up, that has not been something that's been on the plan. Another example would be, I'm sorry.
Underground utilities on
Yes,
Lenowitz Way.
Exactly, thank you.
Yeah, that wasn't put into the building project?
No, it's not part of the building project at all, no.
But you'll see coming up Lenowitz Way, there's, I'm gonna say six
There's 6 poles.
6 telephone poles. and
They look
just
out of place now.
Yeah, they look way out of place
Yeah.
down here. And once I mentioned it, when you go down here, you're gonna see, they just don't look, everything's so nice, the big black poles in the middle of the island coming down, nice lights, and you have these 6 poles for some reason, I don't even know where they go, it looks like one goes to the senior housing and one goes to the condos, I think, I don't know, they don't seem to serve a purpose.
It's a lot of money though, 63 grand.
It is.
Down in the
But we have asked-
utilities.
I have asked our representatives on the school building committee to see if maybe if there's some leftover money. I know there's probably strict rules as to what it can be used for, but, you know, I have asked Rick and
Yeah.
I think, who else is on, you on the school building committee?
Well, put it this way, it's not money that's reimbursable by MSBA, so it's
Okay.
coming out of, it's gonna be, it's money that's coming out of the taxpayers one way or the other. It's not something that we could get any money from the state reimbursable anyway.
Because the utilities are not gonna do it out of goodwill,
No,
so
no.
unfortunately, so.
So that's,
And also it's gonna come in here, those poles are going to be in the way if we want to do something with the property that the town bought last year, you know. So they could be in the way, so whether it's gonna be a parking lot or, hang on to it for a while, maybe a park.
Right.
And the police cruisers, that's, 1 year is 1 cruiser, the following year is two cruisers, is that the way it alternates?
that's good memory, Ken.
I try my best, it's not my first rodeo.
All right.
So are there any questions on the capital plan?
In this Parks and Grounds, this came up during the Finance Committee questioning to the infield pro line striper. That was mispronounced in an awkward way at the Finance Committee meeting. That's actually a substantial vehicle that actually maintains and grooms infields. That's not just a liner, you know, it's not a, you know, something you put in line fields. This
Rakes
is
and brooms, right?
Yeah, this is, exactly, this is a very intense machine that the staff uses to maintain every field. It's a motorized vehicle that replaces a machine that's being held together by Band-Aids by the DPW. So this is one of those that has made its way up through the capital plan over a number of years. So, you know, so.
This one will take care of the Woodsdale School where it's not mowed, all the fields that aren't mowed or whatever is supposed to take care
Well,
of it.
this isn't a mower, this is
Right.
like an infield, there's drags and
Yep.
everything else. That's
It's a
the
ball
kind
field
of machine,
machine.
yeah, ball field's made. So I'm just saying, this
Okay,
is
that's a
where.
ball field.
That's a ball
Yeah,
field maintenance machine, but it's not a
infield.
craft car.
No,
Yeah,
I know it's
yeah,
not
this is
bad.
where a name is kind of a misnomer, where you might not, you know, so, you know, as again, as opposed to some of the ones we just talked about that were more opportunistic, and had to be, you know, replace some things that maybe the department may have wanted versus the infield pro line that has been kind of making its way up through the ranks over the last several years, 5 years, you know, so.
Okay. Article 4 is an annual article we put in for the revolving funds,
Yes.
and we've asked for some more explanation. So basically, it tells you where you get the fees from and what they can be used for. There's certain limits. This is the most that you can go into that account every year, and it has to be spent for the items listed.
Right, and the board had asked to just clarify the building department language to make it clear that the increase this year was specifically for the archiving of documents.
Article 5, and stop me if you have any questions, if you want to take a vote on any of these articles now. Article 5, raise and appropriate transfer from available funds collected a bargaining agreement for fire, library, and clerical unions, which we may be discussing at later
Or,
tonight.
yes, right, I mean, exactly.
Okay, Article 6 is an annual article for transportation services for Abington students attending out-of-district vocational schools as put on by the school committee. Article 7 is the community preservation CPA committee, and in the next page, page 5 explains their revenue and their recommendations for this year. And they were at one of our meetings, was it the last meeting or the one before?
Yeah.
The last meeting.
Paul Malco was there,
Yes.
right?
Yep, so,
Yes, correct.
you know, and as you're aware, 10% has to be put aside and spent for, at least 10% has to be put aside and spent on 3 different things: community housing, historical resources, and open space and recreation. At least 10%. They have not spent any of the community housing money, but that's going into a fund, so you can bond items on that. We're talking about bonding. They've done a lot of work at the Legion and a lot of work on Griffin's Dairy, and I guess the big expense this year is the Riley track to resurface that. I think they were talking over the last 10 years, Mike? I think that's what. So, any questions on that? Article 8, the chief was in before us a while back, telling us that he needs a new rescue pumping engine that we are borrowing from the town of Bridgewater right now. Thank you, town of Bridgewater. And this is a costly, although only about half as much as the giant ladder we bought.
Tower truck,
I've been corrected.
I've been corrected a couple times, I'm sorry.
So Article 8, I know that there was some discussion on how to pay for that. Do we have any more?
Well, the treasurer had provided some information that, regarding, because the question had come up, I believe, as with regard to what it would cost for the capital exclusion.
Which means?
Which would mean it would basically put on the ballot as a one-time, as an override, a capital exclusion, a one-time override. That came out as on the average home, it would cost about $120 a year for a one-time capital exclusion.
If you remember, we did that for the
tower
truck. And our reasoning there was, it was before the cost of the new school kicked in. So our thinking was, let's get it out of the way now, kind of ramp up to that, the increase in taxes. I'm not so sure that would be a good idea at this time because people are paying a lot of taxes. So the other options would be?
The other option would be just to amortize it, borrow within the levy limit.
Every year.
So that's a question that I know the finance committee has not concluded their opinion on this either. That's a question for them Wednesday night.
So that's something that next Monday we'll probably have to pay attention to see how they recommended the funding. We might.
Yeah, or if there's if they're gonna recommend a debt exclusion, I would like to get our opinion on that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know that whether or not they'll be recommend.
I don't think they'll.
I don't think they'll be rendering an opinion on whether or not to seek a debt exclusion or not. Their opinion would be on whether or not they're prepared to recommend we absorb that into our budget as debt, as debt service just yet. I think that'll be, because whether or not to go for a debt exclusion is really up to the Board of Selectmen as to whether or not you're prepared to put it on the ballot for a vote. That's kind of out of the realm of the finance committees, not their jurisdiction.
Right.
So we should definitely wait next Wednesday, see what they are recommending, and go from there. Article 9 is an annual article. It's been called different things, but it's $5,000 for violence prevention and intervention program for sexual assault and domestic violence. Number 10 is the article for the surplus land. And what last year's town meeting, there was a long list, and I forget how many properties there were, but Jim Dabrowski will tell you exactly how many properties there were, but there was quite a long list of properties that were declared surplus, and now the next step is you have to vote to dispose of them and to sell them. And I think we're gonna hopefully at tomorrow night's meeting come up with a list of some, try to chip away at some of the list, and we will have them for the board at the next meeting to go over. We have the maps anyways, and we'll make sure you people have the maps for the ones that we decide, if we decide any. Article 11, raise and appropriate for professional service to assist the town in review updating the town's zoning bylaws. The bylaws for this town are very convoluted. They just keep piling on. So I think we've got a good deal for someone to come in. I forget what the name of the company was for the zoning bylaws. Wasn't there someone that the planning board was that the? No, that's the master plan. I'm sorry.
You're talking about the.
No, it's not. Yeah, no, that's Article 13 I'm thinking about. But
Yeah.
so what's about Article 11? Is it?
Article is for a review of an update of the zoning bylaw. Yeah, you're talking about the master plan update.
Right.
Two different articles, correct?
Okay. But
And I had several quotes ranging from my peers. I didn't get quotes from companies because they'd have to look specifically and see the state of affairs, but ranging between $60,000 and $100,000. So this is an estimate prior to an actual procurement.
Right, yeah, because you'd have
Request
to,
for-
yeah, you'd
request
have to
for
send a request,
Qualifications
yep.
or request for proposals,
Yep.
so.
Okay. Article 12, at our last meeting, we had someone from the Social Vocational Technical Regional High School who told us about their agreement hasn't been updated in a long time. It's between all the towns, and he spoke about now, actually, he's gonna be there at town meeting anyways. So if Eddie has, yes, Mr. Hickey, the superintendent, so if anybody has any questions on this, but it's basically all just updating and legalese.
Correct. There's nothing, it's not a substantive update, but it's a more of a clerical administrative update of a document that's become antiquated in many ways, correct.
Article 13, to vote and raise appropriate transfer of real funds, $20,000, for the purpose of updating the town's master plan or take any other relative action there. 2, planning board, we met with the planning board, and we thought it was a good time to start working on the town's master plan, maybe even share a town planner with other towns just to get the ball rolling. So Wayne Smith had solicited, that's not the right term to use, but he looked into having it, do you remember what the name of the place was? It's just like an institute, it's like a...
Yeah, it escapes me at the moment. It's not Old Colony Planning Council. And originally I had, but yes, it's a planning, it's essentially a group that will utilize interns
College
and
interns.
a combination of, under the watchful eye of professional planners.
And they've done a great job for other towns,
Yes.
very reasonable.
And the name escapes me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And we will not have to speak on that anyways, the planning board,
Right.
Wayne Smith knows the
But the
details.
current master plan is 10 years old, it's supposed to be updated, they're not supposed, no more than every 10 years. So it's time.
Right. So now Article 14 is by the Board of Selectmen. And which one is this?
This is the article that, if passed, would ban marijuana retail establishments.
Okay. So, and
That's what it says.
and that would, if this was approved by town meeting, it would have to be on the ballot.
Correct.
And is there a time frame? Do we have that yet?
There is no time frame.
So it could be at the
would be.
primary and...
It could be, correct.
Okay.
But, correct me if I'm wrong, they can open up shop after June 1st.
That's.
But they would just be forced to close should it not pass.
Correct.
Right. and-
Now, obviously, the logistics of somebody trying to open, understanding that they may have to close would be
So what are we
Would
doing?
rather
silly.
foolhardy, but still, but
I'd hate to
that,
say they have to be high, but.
that would be, yeah, but that would be.
I was thinking the same thing.
Gotcha.
All right, so
There's one for you.
Correct.
is,
And
is the planning board going to make a recommendation on Article 14? Do you, I mean, not the planning board,
Yes.
the
yes.
planning board and the finance committee?
Well, I don't presume the finance committee's going to, but that would, they have the, that's up to them.
Right.
I can't speak for the finance committee.
Okay.
But to the extent that they believe it may have a financial ramification, they may, but I suspect they'll be deferring to the planning board on these articles.
Even 14, the planning board?
Well, yeah, I know, but again, I don't wanna speak to the.
Okay, I think we have to wait for the dust
I
settle
also,
next Monday to figure out.
think that without really feeling very comfortable with the potential service needs that go along with, I'm not sure they would feel comfortable making a recommendation. I just don't, but again, I don't wanna speak for the finance committee on. And again, Wayne Smith, the chairman of the planning board, will be meeting with them Wednesday, and with whatever wisdom comes from their public hearing process tonight, so.
Article 15, I think is, in case Article 14 does not pass, correct me if I'm wrong, then Article 15 will go on to extend the moratorium.
That's, well,
Would seek to extend the moratorium, so that's
one of the
again,
options.
that's the plan, and now, and Article 16 is by the Board of Selectmen and this is more zoning, so I
Right.
think the planning board's gonna weigh on this.
Right, that goes along with the,
14.
with 14, correct. Presumably, if the town is inclined to pass 14, they would piggyback that with approval of 16, which provides for a no in all the zoning districts.
Okay.
That's,
It would, would require a special permit, can you say no in every single district?
well, if you're banning it under the general bylaws, that's what you would do. You would also,
Okay.
you would ban it in the zoning bylaw too, in terms of, you would make sure you don't zone it anywhere either. So
Okay.
it's a piggyback,
Okay,
piggyback,
and I think all the rest, go ahead.
that's all.
So if Article 14 doesn't get approved, then what happens to Article 16? Just go through
Article
it.
16 would presumably wouldn't get approved either, because there's no way you'd get the vote
One or
on
the
16 if you
other,
don't
yeah.
get it on 14 either, so, yeah.
Okay.
But,
But suppose Article 14 does not pass to ban it, who decides whether they're gonna be zoned?
well, that's,
Can you do that
that's
a-
for,
later on?
yeah, that's
Oh, there's
gonna,
another- okay.
that's gonna come further on the warrant.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, it's gonna
very
come
good.
further on the warrant.
All right, so now, are all the rest of the articles planning board articles?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so, and some of them are very long,
Yep.
and I would encourage members to watch this meeting that's going on in the planning board on TV, because I'm sure a lot of the questions are gonna be answered that we're gonna have. I don't know if it's worthwhile to ask the planning board to come to, I mean, they're busy as all get out, ask them to come to the meeting Monday night. I don't know, even if we just have a representative from the planning board, in case we have any technical questions, would that be?
We can certainly extend the invitation.
Were there two warrants, one to include where we would zone or where we would allow the zoning of a marijuana establishment
Well, that's part of this one,
in this warrant?
yes.
Somewhere in this
If
warrant,
you look
this-
further on, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then there was also the warrant to allow us to charge the local tax limit for 3%. That's in here also,
That's
right?
also in here, that's part of the planning board's,
But we don't have them all together at once, we have them spread all over the place. I'm just asking a question.
yeah,
And also can, 30 through what, 30 is by petition?
Who's the last one?
yeah. Petition articles.
In other words, not all the planning board, the last couple are by petition.
Petition articles are together.
Oh, yeah, here it is. It's 30th, 29, I think is the article you're talking about. That's a long article. Starting on page 23, it's called the Marijuana Overlay District Bylaw. The bottom of 23, it's Article 29, so that's, and another large warrant is the sign bylaws in here too, so that's good reading, so.
Trust me, I've been reading it for 2 years.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And actually, you can answer questions on that, other questions.
I can.
Okay.
I will ask Chairman if he can, the planning board,
You can
invite
send
him to,
someone.
either himself or if someone else from the planning board can come to our meeting on next Monday to update us on.
Okay.
I'm like reading.
All right, can everybody make it next Monday night?
What's the date?
14th?
Okay.
Yep, I think so.
Yep.
And town meeting is 2 weeks from tonight, 21st?
Following Saturday.
Sorry?
What?
So we have, our next meeting is on the 14th, right?
Yes,
And is it the following Saturday?
No,
Weekend
Monday.
after that?
Monday.
The town meeting is Monday, the following
Correct.
Monday?
Yes.
All right, any other questions on the articles at all? None. That's good news. Do you have a town manager report? I don't see it in the agenda, no? All right.
You said you want to make this very quick so you can get into the planning board meeting.
If that was the case, I should have met. I met at 6. I assumed that it was gonna be a short agenda for planning, and it would be, all right. So, I guess we really don't have much other business to talk about tonight, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session. Motion is to enter into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the fire union, as an open session will be detrimental to the town's position, and not to return to open session.
Motion to adjourn to executive session for so said duty.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Second. I would need to do a roll call vote on anytime you go into executive session. Jim? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. The chairman says yes. Good, thank you. Cut.